decreed that I would deal chiefly with foreign affairs. Though my experience as college president and New Jersey governor had prepared me to deal with domestic problems, when Germany began unrestricted submarine warfare, there was nothing to do but go to war to make the world safe for democracy. My hope was that peace could be gained without conquest or hate. My 14 points were a symbol of hope to all lands through a League of Nations. But my ideals could not be attained. We had a chance to gain the leadership of the world, but we lost it. The tragedy of that loss was to be a scourge to civilization. After the war, Warren G. Harding succeeded me in office.
Back to normalcy was my watchword. But as the nation recovered from the ravages of the world conflict, corruption ran rampant. Some in whom I had trusted were found guilty of abuse of public trust. And yet my term in office saw many advances. Armaments were reduced, submarine attacks on merchant ships in wartime were outlawed, and business gained new strength.
Death came to Harding, putting an end to his worries of the scandals in which he had no part. They were to be faced by Calvin Cooley.
The business of America is business. While I was president, business entered a golden age. Mass production brought more prosperity to everyone. The national debt was reduced and our economy flourished. It was the era of commercial radio and new horizons in air travel, as Lindy made his solo flight to Paris. The world was coming closer together, while here at home, the stock market climbed to unprecedented height.
The Roaring '20s were in full swing, with its flappers, speakeasies, marathon dances, and a mad whirl of prosperity. Then the bubble burst. The mighty crash came during the administration of Herbert Hoover.
Fate decreed that during my term of office, the economy of our nation suffered disastrously. My years as an engineer had prepared me as an administrator. Now, they had not prepared me for the aftermath of the stock market crash. And nonetheless, I spent my efforts toward solving the problems of adjustment. Many of the measures taken then have since proved their worth, and God granted me health to serve my country long after I was succeeded by Franklin D. Roosevelt.
My friends, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. However, war clouds had gathered. I warned our people that the epidemic of world lawlessness was spreading. America could not escape through isolation. Britain was already embroiled with Hitler's legions. As the war planes battled, we granted all aid short of war. The democratic way of life was being assailed in every part of the world. Our generation had a rendezvous with destiny. I proclaimed the 4 freedoms as a goal for all free people throughout the world. Then came the day of infamy, December 7th, 1941.
Remember Pearl Harbor!
Japan struck, and we were at war. At first, we were pushed back on every front. Then, the slow, steady advances began.
Franklin D. Roosevelt did not live to know the outcome. the heavy load was transferred to Harry S. Truman.
It was during my term that we harnessed the basic power of the universe, loosed against those who brought war to the Far East. And when the war ended, we again faced the duty to help the impoverished and devastated world. This I sought to do through the Marshall Plan. At the same time, international communism was employing another technique, aggression and subversion. This led to the action in Korea. And with the United Nations, we joined forces to oppose communism's spread. History marched on with the election of Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Dwight David Eisenhower. The name has a fine ring to it. But what's in a name? In this case, quite a lot. Ike was an honor graduate of West Point, became a five-star general and Supreme Allied Commander. He was respected in every area of the military. Dwight David Eisenhower, President of the United States, respected across party lines. Dwight David Eisenhower, gentleman farmer. What did this great man stand for? Here are a few words from his second inaugural speech that capture the tenor of his thinking.
May we pursue the right without self-righteousness. May we know unity without conformity. May we grow in strength without pride in self. May we, in our dealings with all peoples of the earth, ever speak truth and serve justice. And so shall America, in the sight of all men of goodwill, prove true to the honorable purposes that bind and rule us as a people in all this time of trial through which we pass.
The pace of the 1960s quickened as the electorate chose youthful dynamism in John Fitzgerald Kennedy, the youngest president in American history.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Communism was again threatening our way of life by escalating the Cold War. A few miles off our shore, nuclear weapons were being aimed at our cities, and the USSR Premier Khrushchev was saber-rattling in other parts of the world. Kennedy's courageous stand caused him to back down from Cuba, thus effecting the first significant Russian retreat of the Cold War. At home, JFK aggressively pursued the space program, and in 1962, John Glenn orbited the Earth. He championed civil rights legislation and introduced the Alliance for Progress and the Peace Corps.
Dallas, Texas, November 22nd, 1963. A tragic moment in American history. President Kennedy was cut down.